Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Mind Right Game Type Show. This is Michelle Morgan. I'm a transformational sports coach. And what that means is I work with student athletes on the mindset. So that mindset, skill set, reach your full potential in sports and in life as well. Also an author of How Youth Triumph in Sports, Tools That Create a Triumphant Life. And that is available on my website and Amazon as well. It's a life skills book. But that goes again with all the traits and skills that we learn with playing sports to reach our full potential in sports and using those tools and traits to be great in life, because we're going to spend a lot more time in life doing sports. My website is vidasoro.com. Today's guest is Kim Pulido. She is a former student athlete as well, also still continues to play basketball. She is also a basketball coach and an owner of her own training facility. So welcome, Kim, to the show. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
So I wanted to get into, going back when you were a student athlete and just asking, is there something that you learned from that experience? May it be adversity that you may have overcome that now you use and made you a better player, but not only that, made you better in life as well, now that you also coach basketball and also now that you're a business owner?
Yeah, I've been talking about this a lot lately with my basketball players. It's just, when you get to college, you had just come from high school where you're the star of wherever you came from. So I went from being the captain of a basketball team my entire life and just being used to leading on the court. And so when I got to college, I realized that we were all the best of where we came from. And I found myself constantly on the bench, and I couldn't figure it out. And at the time, I didn't realize what this was going to mean for my entire life. But I found myself struggling with my identity as a ball player, which kind of trickled into my identity as a person. And for the first time, I couldn't lead in the middle of the action. I had to lead from the bench. And what that has really taught me was just being okay with the process and where you're at, and doing your best with where you're at, and encouraging getting other people involved for a bigger picture. And so now, being a basketball coach of a winning team, there are a lot of players that don't even get to see court time. And I feel for them because I can see it in their face. They're confused as to, do they have a purpose or do they have a role on the team? And I'm constantly reminding them that, we're nothing without the encouragement from the bench. And that's such a huge role. Also, it's just like that 2 or 3 minutes that you get to go in the game is an opportunity to spark the team. And it's the only way you can do that is by keeping a positive mindset and buying into your role. So I think that's huge. I've seen a shift in mentality with the ball players, and a lot of them last year were going through that transition, going through that struggle of being okay with being on the bench. And actually, some of them are finding themselves this year getting about 15 minutes of playing time a game, because they've now bought into being a positive player and having the right body language, and then also making the most out of practices. And I think the head coach has really noticed. Right now I'm assisting because I just opened my own gym, and it takes me away from, fully coaching them. So yeah. And then, also with the gym, it's taught me to be super relentless, just working hard even when no one notices, being at home, working hard on the computer, doing research and doing all that I need to for my clients without them really knowing, and being okay without them knowing, and just getting to, reap the benefits of me taking the time to do so. So yeah, it's led me to open my own facility by just caring for other people and putting myself on the back burner a little bit. So now that I look back, I'm so glad that even happened to me, because I was I probably would have grown up with an entitled attitude, honestly, because I always got to be a starter for I don't know what reasons, and so now I think that's really taught me how to kind of grind it out and just be a better person for other people.
And so how did you get to that point mentally where you almost said, kind of trust the process? So if I'm a player and I'm, watching this and I'm listening to you, and it's yeah, easier said than done to all of a sudden I'm sitting on the bench, or, those times you're I know I should be in the game. I should be playing right now. I'm seeing what's going on, whatever, on the court or the field. And it's why am I not in? And so what is that? How did you create that mindset?
Honestly, I went through a crazy point in my life where I got a really bad injury, and it really took me away from basketball altogether. And I think I had so much time to reflect of where am I at now and how did I get here, And so when I'm talking to my basketball players, I think the biggest thing for them is relating with them, and kind of letting them know, okay, I know what you're feeling right now. Like, I explained to them exactly how I was feeling when I was in their position, but just sharing my testimony has really helped them. Now, I know they're not fully grasping it, but it's like I see some of them doing it. So I guess the mental shift is when you actually sit down to reflect on your life, and some of them are starting to already reflect, like, all right, so, when I don't have energy during practice or energy on the bench, the rest of the bench doesn't have energy, and those are the games that we really didn't do well in. For them, it's just, again, me just kind of relating my story to them. They all know about my success and what led me there, and I always bring it back to that time in college. But again, it was during my injury when I was really stripped of basketball that I had time to sit down and reflect. And another thing is, when that happened, I spent more time with my family, and I realized that I wasn't doing that when I was playing basketball. I was so consumed by just being on that court and not realizing that it was bigger than that. So I think, again, it's just that mental shift is when I had the time to reflect. And I try to preach that to my players, is just kind of reflect on where you're at in life and what led you there and what are the positives of it instead of focusing fully on the negatives.
Yeah. And then did you get to a point where you got more playing time, or did that transpire?
It was a junior college. I only had 2 years, right? So you don't get a whole 4 years to prove it to the coach. But no, like the first year that I got there, I was so confused. I mean, the first game I played really, really well. And then every game after that, I barely saw the court. And, I called a meeting with the coach. I thought it was a good meeting, and nothing changed. And I said, okay, I have a decision here. Do I quit or do I keep going? And I realized I never quit anything in my life. I got to work hard. I got to work harder. So, I mean, I was training so hard over the summer. I got my shooting percentage up, and, preseason was having great practices, had a high shooting percentage, and just playing really great defense, getting encouragement from the teammates, and still found myself on that bench. And it was just like, okay, do I cry about it, or do I represent myself as a person and as a player to the fullest? And I realized that was the only thing I can control. And then that goes into controlling the controllables, which is another thing I always preach to my players. And I'm currently training a ball player who's in college and experiencing the same thing I did. And she worked really hard this summer, and she's like, I'm just confused. And then all I could tell her was, encourage your teammates if that's the only thing you can control, and work hard, because you can't always control the result, but you can control how you deal with the process.
I think back to even when I played, and I still talk about like the people that were on the bench or who maybe didn't get all the playing time. They really are the ones who like keep the team uplifted, because when things are going well, they're the ones who are like, you got it, you can do it. Like, and even though people are coming off the court like mad and upset, or like, oh, I can't believe I missed that, or whatever. And it's like, they're the ones who are like the motivational, like, coaches on the team, and it's so empowering, and it's important to have that. And also knowing that sometimes for me, it's like, I know I'm not going to be the best at everything I do. But like you said, it's also like, what can I learn from this process? Yeah. It might not have anything to do technically with basketball itself, but maybe another area in my life is what I'm learning to implement this in. So that's really important and positive. And so like now working with your basketball team that you have, and you said like these girls are like, doing great and you're on a winning team. How do you help them train the mindset as well?
I watch a lot of motivational speakers. One of the main ones that I watch is a guy by the name of Joshua Metcalf, who is a mental coach at UCLA. And I'm already trying to implement something that I wish I had when I was younger. And just, he relates life a lot to basketball, and it's teaching them that whatever they make out of this season, whatever they make out of playing on this team is going to affect them their entire life. And if they don't start training their mind, then they won't be able to execute anything they've ever learned. And I tell them, I said, aren't there some games that you dribble the ball off your foot or like hit your teammate in the back of the head? These are things you don't practice. We don't ever practice those things, but they still happen. What is your mind? What were you thinking that day? Were you having a bad day? Like, I have them think about those things, and then I have them think about, you remember that game where you just felt so unstoppable? Like, what was it? What was it that caused you to feel that way? And if you don't know, the next time you're having a good game, think about it and immerse yourself in that. And, you know, it's just using methods of a lot of the motivational speakers that kind of got where I want to be in life. And just another thing that I've learned is the importance of mentorship, whether it be somebody you actually know, whether it be a book, or whether it be, again, a motivational speaker online. And I tell them all the time, they're kids, but you know, if nothing else is working for you, just try what I'm telling you right now and see what it does for you. And again, a lot of them have really bought into that, and no one cared enough about the bench when I was in high school, or in college, or anything. It was just about the starters and it was about the superstars. But I think for me as a coach, it's so much more important for me to help those that feel invisible. And honestly, again, we're a winning team, and we, as a coaching staff, talk about all the time, we wouldn't be where we're at without that bench, you know, without the whole team. And so I think that encourages them mentally as well. But yeah, I think it's really important that they practice kind of, you know, how to get motivated and how to stay motivated and how to be in a positive space, because that's the only time you can execute anything.
Yeah. And then when you talk about, like, you know, those people that sometimes feel invisible, you know, whether if it's in a team or just anywhere in general, like, what is your, like, advice or recommendation to those people? Maybe they don't know if there's someone out there in the mentorship. So what's your advice for them?
Well, it's funny because with my training business, if you ever look at my clientele, it's such a diverse group, and I tend to attract the ones that in life have felt invisible, which is crazy. So for me, it's just, again, it's just reading books and listening to speakers, and when they're by themselves is the best time to think. When they're by themselves, it's like, okay, let's focus on my purpose in life. Let's focus on that. Shift your mind in the direction that you want to be in, instead of focusing on, is anybody even watching, you know? And it's like, you think about a play, you know, it's not, the show doesn't happen without the people in the backstage, the people who are technically invisible because no one sees them. Think about how important they are, you know, and think about the difference that you can make in this world and in your community and in your family by just focusing on bettering who you are as a person, and not so much, again, needing to be surrounded by a lot of people and by people, you know, complimenting you, rewarding you, or whatever. It's like, at the end of the day, you have yourself, and you should be your biggest fan, you know?
Yeah. So it goes back to, like, self-love, self-worth, you know, how we feel about ourselves is how we're going to project ourselves out there. And regardless of, sometimes people see it or say something or not, people are always watching, you know, definitely are always taking note of that. But the most important part is to love yourself and, you know, remind yourself, get a notebook out, a journal, and write down, you know, what is it that you love to do? What would you love to see yourself doing? And think about those things and think about how that would make you feel, and write down those emotions as well. And it goes back to the part, like you were talking about, with visualization, you know, and like, how did you feel during that great game? And so it's going back to how you would feel in doing those things, because that's that internal motivation, because everything really does come from within. Like, I can't make Kim act. Kim has to move her arms and her mouth and her legs to do everything. So it's really important, but of course it's also like having that great support system and mentorship that you're talking about as well. Is there, like, I know you mentioned, is there like any special books that you love that you like recommend to everybody?
Well, I'm not going to lie. I'm not a big reader, and I never have been. I don't know if I'm self-diagnosing myself right now, but I swear I have ADD. So it's hard for me to just sit there and read books. So like I said, I listen to people like Eric Thomas, Josh Metcalf, and I actually have a friend who if anything big in life happens, or if I have a big decision to make, I call that person. And so I physically need an actual person talking to me that knows me. Her name is Liz Guerin. No, you know her. And then also, just again, these recordings, they help me so much. And I mean, as corny as it sounds, there's plenty of times where either I'm in my own gym or at the apartment where I'll just close my eyes and listen to it, and allow them to speak life into me. And they don't even know me, you know, but it's just, I feel like I can relate to it so much. So yeah, Eric Thomas and Joshua Metcalf are two that I would definitely recommend. And then just picking someone in your life that's not always going to be agreeing with you, who knows you really well, but is non-biased and is able to tell you what you need to hear and not what you just want to hear. I think that's really important as well.
Yeah, I agree. And shout out to Liz.
Yeah,
Still waiting to get you on this show, girl. And
busy,
so, what's that?
busy woman.
We're all busy. So, love you, Liz. But in moving forward and opening your own business, like how has that process been? Because like we just talked about like visualizing your goal, what are you happy doing, and you know those things. So how did this process happen, and you know what have you learned, and what has made you like great in actually pursuing it and seeing it come to fruition throughout all the things that you've learned?
Okay, I'm excited to share this story because it's one of my favorite things to share. Last year, around, I want to say October, November, was about 6 years into the business, and I was really tired. I kind of just broke down. The business is competitive. It's a male-dominated industry, and it's about hustling every minute of every day because, you know, you get 2 or 3 clients, and all of a sudden you can almost afford a car and all these things, and then again, if you lose those clients, it's like your whole life shifts, you know? And I got tired of that roller coaster, and I just kind of broke down, and I hit the ground, and I started like applying for a big box gym again. I was like, forget this business. I'm just going to go back where they can just hand me clients. And then the computer froze on the very last page of the freaking application, and it didn't go through. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to take this as a sign. What the heck? And then I just kind of closed my eyes, and I heard a voice in my head that said, stay underwater for as long as you need to. And when it's time to come up, it's time to come up. But what have you done everything in your power to make sure that this business is going to be successful? And I found myself saying, no, you don't ever complete what you say you're going to complete. So try completing everything. And then if it doesn't work out, then you can go reapply. And so what I mean by that is I have this ability to mentor other people into things that I want to get done. I can mentor them into it. They'll get it done, and I get to watch them succeed, you know? And so I actually took a whiteboard, and wrote out a paragraph, an agreement that I'm going to make to myself. And it talked about, you know, I'm going to get a building, and I'm going to create this vessel for people to feel loved and to have a place for young trainers to get mentored. And then I signed it. And then I said, okay, well, how am I going to get there? So I started writing down marketing, what do I need to do for marketing? What kind of groups do I want? And so I created this board, and I put it in my living room, and I stared at it every day. And I wasn't necessarily reading it, but I was like soaking it in. And then after that, I put it away, and I wasn't doing a checklist thing at all. It was just, I was just doing it, and I wasn't paying attention. And another thing is, when you first become a trainer, you're super hungry, and you do everything you possibly can to make your clients happy. And I said, what if I tried that again? What if I actually did everything I could possibly do for every last client, no matter if I have 5 clients or 20 clients, like really just immerse myself in caring for them to the fullest. And then that whole saying that my mom always told me was, take care of your clients, care for them like they're your family, and they'll take care of you as their family in return. So I really kept that in my head. And next thing you know, the clients just started flowing in. And I said, okay, we're on a roll now, you know, like, don't slip up. Make sure you're constantly studying. Make sure you're constantly doing every little thing that you can to make sure they feel loved and important. Now, that made them fall in love with the process, and that made my clients really passionate about me. And so what happened was they started really going out there and marketing for me. And next thing you know, I had to start these groups because I just didn't have enough time to do private training anymore. Started with one group. They kept asking, hey, you're going to do another one? I said, sure, why not? Go find me some people, and we'll go ahead and start another group. And next thing you know, I'm training groups 5 days a week. And this literally all happened from last winter until now. In October, my client grabs me, and she shakes me and says, you need to get your own freaking place already. And I was like, all right, well, I guess I'll just go check out some buildings. I mean, it's kind of, you know, I almost quit last year, and you want me to get a building now, like, I guess. And so October 1st, I walked into this building, and I just, like, you just know. It's like falling in love with a person. You just know that this is it. This is what I want. And so I just took a leap of faith and, you know, told the landlord, this is what I want. I want this many months of free rent. I want this and this and that, thinking I have nothing to lose. And next thing you know, I get all the deal points I want and have the keys by November 1st. And then the process begins, and I'm like, where the heck am I going to get all this money to start this gym now? I need equipment, you know? And for the first time, my dad felt like, okay, she's ready, you know? And so with his help and with clients just donating, honestly, tons of money. And I'm like, what the heck? Why do you love me so much? You know? And it's just, again, you treat them like family, they're going to treat you like family as well. And so I would have never been able to do this without them. And so now I have this up and running facility, and, you know, over 20 members signed up in the past 3 weeks. And I didn't even open it up until January 1st, and didn't even tell anybody about the facility until Christmas. And it's already happening, you know? And again, last year I almost quit at the same time, and now I have my own facility. And so what it came down to was, again, control the controllables. It's super important. Have the right mentors in your life to tell you, you know, keep this going. And then self-reflection, just sit there, close your eyes and think about, how did I get here? Where do I want to go? And what are the steps that I need to take to get there? Because a lot of times we already know the answer. We're just looking outside for those answers because it's just easier to ask someone else instead of just dealing with it yourself. So that's led me where I'm at now. And now I forgot the question because it's the the story.
You answered it, but that's awesome. Congratulations. Yeah, I'm really excited and happy for you all at the same time. And what do you think what did you learn most from this process? From like saying, I want to quit, I want to fill out a job application, to, okay, I'm going to do it again. And, you know, being here where you're at, like, what did you learn the most from this process?
Just, again, controlling the controllables, but just being relentless. I mean, I think every athlete learns that. Like, the game isn't over until the buzzer goes off. It's just, you have to be relentless. You have to have faith. You have to be patient, and you have to really lose yourself in the process and not worry about the result and when it's going to happen for you. Just doing everything you can to make the most out of that process. And then sometimes, you know, you got to realize that you'll climb up the wrong ladder. And just because you spent years climbing up that ladder doesn't mean it's the right one for you. Sometimes it's okay to crawl back down and go up the right one. You know, there's plenty of times, like in my business, that I tried all these different avenues within it that was never meant for me. But I was like, I can make money doing this and I can make money doing that. And I was just like, I was so invested into that. And I was like, but is that what I'm supposed to be doing? You know? And so again, it's okay to fall down and start over. You're going to do that, especially if you're trying to open your own business. But just be relentless no matter what.
Yeah. And I think it's not even about opening a business. It's about our own lives. Like, there's going to be times where we fall down, and it's like, we still got to get back up, because there's so many components that make up our life. Like, we do have business, but then there's family, there's friends, there's your health and wellness. Like, there's all these different sorts of things. So yeah, I totally agree. And thank you for sharing that. It's very wise and knowledgeable in sharing your story as well. And so what's going to be happening? What's new? What's coming in the future? What's your vision coming up next?
Well, another agreement that I made to myself was mentoring young trainers. And I've got a few that are actually coming to the facility, and I'm going to have the opportunity to kind of step back and just get them started on their dreams. And I'm okay with being backstage now that I've sat on a bench in college and, you know, tore my ACL and all this. I'm okay with watching people succeed. So I think what's in the near future is just kind of learning to step back from actually training clients and getting other people started on their dreams. So we have some really cool classes that are going to be coming up. I want them to exercise their passion with fitness, and a lot of it's really different than mine. I'm very, let's move slow and get all the technicalities down and, you know, all that stuff. But I have a young trainer right now that's super passionate about like extreme workouts and things like that. So I'm excited to help him out. I'm still coaching basketball, so I'm hoping in the near future, a sports complex. I really want to open one of those. So we'll see what happens. Right now, again, I'm going to get lost in this process and just, you know, take it day at a time. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Nice. So it's like you went full circle, like watching others succeed and then thinking like, what am I doing on the bench again? Why am I even still playing? And then here you are, like, giving back and being able to watch others be successful while you're still being successful at the same time. And I think it's good to see that and to hear you say that, because sometimes, you know, we may get lost in just our own self and in the world as to what's going on. And it's great to root other people on and uplift them to reach their goals and dreams as well, because there's something that, you know, we're learning from it ourselves as well. So thank you for sharing that.
There's definitely nothing like it. And I don't know that all people know what it feels like to really give back. I just knowing, I've recently heard my clients' testimonials, and there's like a really common theme between all of them. And a lot of them talked about an elevated mindset and a positive spirit. They didn't even talk about fitness on their testimonies. And for me, that reminded me, like, that's what I get to take to the grave with me. So if, I mean, anybody that's listening, I mean, think about how you're going to be remembered one day, and what you're going to take to the grave with you. You know, what are people going to say about you? And don't take your dreams to the grave with you. Like, start working on them now, and sharing that with people.
Yeah, there's a great quote by Les Brown about, I don't want to butcher it. Do you know what it is?
Yeah, I do. I forgot to mention them. I'm so sorry. That is a huge one. I'm not going to tell you what it is because we can't quote it, but you should definitely check out Les Brown.
Yeah, check out Google Les Brown dreams, goals in the cemetery. If you just type in all those words, you'll get the quote. And it's a pretty great, thoughtful quote that makes you think like, oh yeah, that does make sense. So yeah, are there any websites, social media that we can follow to continue following your journey?
Yeah, I know I made it all difficult, but it's keep _pushing _fitness. That's for my Instagram. The website is going up really soon, and so if you keep up with my Instagram, the link will be posted just above, and you'll get to see client testimonials, videos, and things like that. But I'd say Instagram is probably the best way to. You can just tell the culture and the nature of the facility by just watching the videos. We have a really good time, so yeah, definitely give me a follow.
So I'll make sure that your Instagram link is in the bio of the description, and it's also going to pop up sometime before I even said this right now, so you'll see it underneath Kim while she's speaking during this interview. Go ahead and follow her, check her out, and continue to follow her journey as well. And all of us, it's all about creating that energy to inspire others. That's really what it is. It's like when we see other people doing good, it motivates us to know that we can do it as well. So thank you for sharing that. And then when you get the website up, we'll make sure to put the website in the description below as well. Yeah. So I want to thank you, Kim, for being on the Mind Right Game Tight show. I appreciate everything that you shared, your journey, lots of stories, but it's great to see, how things come full circle. So it's great to hear you share your story because I learned something from it as well. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate you even thinking of me. So I appreciate you and what you're doing and your movement.
Thank you. And then one last thing before you go, you just have to finish this sentence. I am grateful for.
I am grateful for, I'm grateful for all the people that honestly have made me exactly who I am today.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Once again, check out Kim and all the great things that she's doing. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Mind Right Game Tight. Treasure yourself and shine. Thank you.
Thank you.